this one.
Good evening. All right, for a busy Monday.
Guess I was wrong. Martin said that. You got 45 seconds. You need to fix your font up there, Mr. That's you got to fix it once a month. Once a month. It's funny. We meet twice a month, so we can probably fix it once a month. That's true. Hell, we can fix it twice a month. That's right.
I've got 7 on mine. I got 7 on mine.
Milt's timekeeper. Yeah, well, whatever. Close enough.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We can get roll call, please.
Aiken.
Here.
Fair. Here. Thomas.
Here.
Scarborough.
Here.
Kenworthy.
Yeah.
And Tobias.
President.
And we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to have the Boy Scouts Troop 1368 lead us for the pledge. Thank you all for coming out.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could all just remain standing for a moment. I've asked for a moment of silence. We have some town employees that are going through some difficult times, and just to remember them. Okay, thank you all very much. First item here is our acceptance of the minutes. Do we have any changes from our workshop? Nothing?
No, sir.
Okay. Entertain a motion to accept them.
Make a motion to accept the minutes for work session October 29, 2013, regular meeting November 4, 2013. Second.
Motion's been second. Any discussion? Will all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? So noted. Okay. Great. Public hearing. We'll go ahead and open our public hearing for the first item to amend Section 58.11 on the Town Code. We ask anybody that'd like to speak on that just to come up and state your name and address and whether or not you're in favor or opposed.
Yes, Fred Carl, Haymarket Motors. I'd like to read a very short prepared statement.
Hey, Fred. Is this for the public hearing or is this citizens' time? Your issue at citizens' time. Give us about 5 minutes when we get back.
That's my fault. I said it was citizens' time.
That's okay.
Sorry for that.
A second call for anybody in favor or opposed. And final call. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing for amendment 58.11-11 of the Town Code. We'll open the public hearing for the preliminary site plan and associated waivers. Anybody in favor or opposed that'd like to come up and address the council? Second call. And final call. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing for the preliminary site plan. And we'll move on to our citizens' time.
Fred Carl, Haymarket Motors. I'd like to read a very short prepared statement, if I may. Give this to council members, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the customer has forwarded me the link to your online biography on ZoomInfo.com that lists you as the chairman and advocate for Haymarket Motors Group PLC. It also has several links to my company's website. I am the sole owner of Haymarket Motors Group PLC, and the presence of your listing and those links incorrectly suggest that you are somehow affiliated with my company. Further, your biography and associated links have given some the impression that as a purported chairman of my company, we might be getting preferential treatment from the town. I would therefore request that you immediately remove the references and links to my company from your biography and notify me when a corrections have been made, and I'll leave you a copy of it.
I would appreciate it because this is, Fred, the first I've heard of it. I have no website, so this will be easy to...
Bring that.
Sure, absolutely, sir.
That's your step, sir.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any other citizens' time? Okay, we'll move on to our agenda items. First item is our organization assessment, and as discussed at our work session, we're going to move this over to next month's council meeting. We'll move on to our next item, our ZPA amendment for the parking for the recreation uses.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the report. Just a quick summary. This was a request initiated, or excuse me, this was a text amendment initiated concurrently with the Commission's review of the Haymarket Ice Rink preliminary site plan for their expansion. It establishes a standard of one parking space for 300 square feet of floor area. This is a more liberal standard than our current restriction of one per 200 square feet per standard. This would apply only to the recreational uses in town. I've drafted motions for your use as well as a draft ordinance for your use.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion.
Move that the town council adopt ordinance ORD 20131202, establishing parking standards for recreation, commercial, indoor fitness, and sports activity use.
Second.
The motion's been seconded. Any discussion on it? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Aiken.
Yes.
Fair. Yes. Harness.
Yes.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Kenworthy.
Yes.
Bias.
Motion passes. Mr. Dwight.
Would it be the pleasure of council to direct Marchant to work with the planning commission to actually look at addressing the totality of our parking ordinances for necessary changes and bringing them up to date with the times? We were told at the work session by Holly that there's a lot of issues with our parking ordinances, and the reason why Marchant says we took this one up to task right now is basically a timeliness issue for the applicant. But to me, it makes sense that if there's problems with our ordinance, we should probably task someone with trying to fix them now, so that we're not piecemealing this again down the road for another use and spending money on public hearings and staff time, et cetera. Let's just go ahead and revamp our parking ordinances now. Anybody who had a problem with that directive being issued to Marchant to work with Bob and the Planning Commission?
No issue.
Therefore, please do.
Okay, thank you.
Directed.
Okay. Next one is Haymarket Icebox.
Can we get a return date of February on that, by the way? Is February too soon for that? March?
March would be better.
To be addressed in March.
Again, a summary memo for your consideration. This is for the expansion of the ice rink. They're adding a second rink on the backside. There's also two waiver requests. One is to reduce the vegetative screen to the church. This was approved as part of the initial concept of the ice rink. They reduced the width of it, but they've increased the plantings in there to screen the use from the church lot. Also, on the southern property line, there is supposed to be a parking lot strip between this property and the Durham property to the south. They've asked to take the equivalent plantings and put it on the west side of the building where the old railroad spur used to be. And in place of that, the commission recommended they put a 6-foot-high board-on-board fence to separate the two uses. So those are the two requests: changing the perimeter parking lot landscaping and reducing the required buffer yard. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Entertain a motion?
I move that the town council approve preliminary site plan, PRE, number 2013-0415, Haymarket Ice Rink Expansion, preliminary site plan, prepared by Christopher Consultants and dated April 2013, revised through November 12, 2013, and I further move that the town council, pursuant to sections 58-699C and 58-703F of the town code, approve the alternative buffer yards and waiver of perimeter parking lot landscaping as depicted on sheet 3 of preliminary site plan, PRE, number 2013-0415.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Aiken.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Harnis.
Yes.
Carver.
Yes.
Cameron.
Aye.
West.
All right.
Right. Move on to cover D, Police Department matters. I think we spoke about that in our work session. I don't have anything further to add or to bring. So with no objection, we'll move on to our next one, which is...
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
The discussion during the work session was to have the officers have take-home vehicles. That goes against the current SOP. So if council wants to order the chief of police to get rid of his SOP and devise another one, don't we need to do an actual council vote and mandate to that effect? Or are we still leaving it in his hands, allowing him the opportunity to?
Steve, I'll let you kind of take
I
over
spoke to the
this.
chief yesterday on this issue, and what he was going to do was come up with he believes he has the authority to either do it or not do it
Yes.
himself. However, in doing so, if he were to do it, it would exceed the budget for gasoline,
Oh, okay.
which he does not have the authority to do. So he was going to come up with an estimated price of what additional gasoline he would need to implement this, and then approach the council next month with that to see if we are agreeable to a set amount of going over that. Yes.
Do we know how much where we're at with gasoline?
Well, it's in your packet. It's in your packet. All you do is flip the page.
Okay, see, I got the wrong impression at the work session. I thought council was mandating that they have them, which would have required a vote. But if we're still leaving it in their hands, that it's their call that they can or can't have them, I'm okay with that, and we don't need to vote for it. But it just seemed that at our work session, it did seem as if council was trying to mandate and override an SOP. So that's why I thought we had to have a vote.
I think the concern was, I guess, focused on the expense. Is that correct? Just expense. Deputy Chief?
The chief probably doesn't recall, but he did put it in the budget as if we had take-home cars for this year. He already budgeted for that.
Well, he was going to go back and review it, make sure where we're at now, what it would take to do, and come to us with a number, if there is a number.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the council adopted the budget, and that wasn't considered during council's discussions on that budget. But the chief has been under the direction of previous councils, and that direction would still be in effect, that take-home vehicles ceased when gas eclipsed $3 a gallon years ago. So, again, it is his purview to make a policy, et cetera, but he was directed by previous councils to eliminate the program, with the exception of himself and Breeden, because of the gas prices. So if he wants to come back and bring that back to the council's attention, I'm okay with that. But it's not our job to tell him to implement a policy. We can tell him we don't want to spend the money and you got to do away with a policy, but we can't direct him to implement a policy. So if he wants to come back to us with some financials, that's fine. But looking at the budget, they are about in line for their fuel budget right now through November 22nd. So it's iffy if if he factored it in, then he didn't do a very good job of factoring it. I know council changed his preliminary budget when we adopted the budget in the spring, but he's at a 42% utilage through November 22nd. So I would imagine that by the end of this month, he'll be over 50% utilage with not take-home vehicles. So there's going to have to be some tweaking.
Deputy Chief, you did some preliminary math on this. What are we talking about? $1,000?
Yeah.
So we're really talking about $1,000 that will cover it up to the end of the year?
Actually, the reason we did was the cars will get better gas mileage.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I would entertain a motion at this point. I think there's been enough discussion if the council wants to to just put this.
A motion for what? The chief has already told the liaison to the police department that he's going to come to the council at the next meeting with a plan. What do you want our motion for?
And I thought, you had just said, I think 4 of us had already just agreed in our discussions that this needs to stay in their hands to decide, not be a council.
It's not for us to decide.
Right. Exactly.
It's for Jim to come to us and say, this is what I want to do. That's what he told the liaison he's going to do.
Okay.
Case closed.
Well, it's not a case closed, number one. We're in discussion right now.
I'm just saying, in my eyes, it's a non-discussionary issue.
The issue was that we have a standard operating procedure that already allows the take-home cars in effect, that if any kind of suspension that was done, we don't have this in writing.
Well, you should probably pull the old minutes. It's in there.
So,
But like I said, chief has already gave the liaison who had communications with the chief, which is his job, directed by council, he's already told us what he's going to do.
Mr. Bias, we understand. I got it. Okay, thank you.
I just want to make sure you got it, because you didn't sound like you got it.
Mr. Tobias, I'm going to rule you out of order if you keep it up.
You keep acknowledging me. I'm not out of order.
We'll go ahead, and if there's no motion, we'll go ahead and go to our next item. And the request to council for the New Life Christian Church. Mr. Vanderpool, it appears that we might not have a policy or procedure on this. Is my understanding.
That's my understanding, Mr. Mayor. We would prefer, because of the issues of separation of church and state and the neutrality, that there be a policy that affects everyone equally in terms of who gets to use it, in what sequence, in what order, length of time, size of the banner, so that it's uniform as opposed to being an ad hoc decision. Secondly, that the policy would provide standards and that the actual issuance of the permission would be done by the staff so that the legislative body is removed from voting in favor of a particular church, granting them the right to utilize public property for that purpose. The third issue is for concern about the sign remaining after the 26th, let's say, approximately, give them time to take it down, because at that point the event has already occurred. Allowing the sign to continue there could be construed to be in the nature of an advertisement or an endorsement, because the sign is there after the event has occurred. So those are the nature of the concerns that we have from the town insurance perspective.
Okay. Well, lacking any procedure that we have today, I don't know. Let's see what the council has to feel about this discussion.
Based on what we've just heard here, we probably should deny this and ask staff to come up with a policy for the future. I mean, this obviously is not just Christmas time. It could be any time during the year somebody might want to put a sign up in the green space. And if we come up with a policy in the next month or two, adopt it, and as he said, it takes the voting body, politicians out of it, and puts it in the hands of the staff with very strict guidelines.
I'd probably note that the fact that they've applied for it to go after the date, that I guess there could be perceived advertising that you're actually doing it not after the 25th.
Is Mr. Pennell here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see actually making, I brought up similar issues at our work session. I can see making an exception since we don't have a policy in place. They've already asked. We know we need to do this for the future because I had brought up the point next Christmas we'll have every church in the area wanting to put the small billboard up, possibly. I can see making an exception, allowing them to do it now, but it would have to come down December 26th at the latest and not stay up past their actual event.
As far as any thoughts or comments?
I'm in agreement with our attorney that we're, with the separation needing to be done and it being not a political decision, it being creating a policy and making it a staff decision.
Ms. Garber?
I agree with our attorney, but I also agree with Rebecca. I don't think we should shut them down just because we don't have a policy. Let them do it, take it down the day after, and then we'll have a policy for next year.
Mr. Kenworthy?
Likewise, I feel like they should be able to put it up, but then after the 26th, it can come down.
Mr. Tobias?
I think that certain people sitting up here want to put a policy in place for everything as to everything and anything we could ever come to our plate. I made all my opinions known at the work session. You guys are being more generous than I am. I think that if we're going to listen to our legal opinion and we're worried about advertising or sponsoring the church or what have you after the event, then like I said, if you have a Christmas Eve service, when the Christmas Eve service is done, take your banner home. Therefore, I say that we should grant them permission, and I will move to allow for the council to grant them permission to place a banner on the town center green space no larger than 3 by 5 to advertise their Christmas Eve service, and the banner can go up no earlier than December the 15th, and it will be taken down after the Christmas Eve services have completed on December 24th, 2013.
So a motion on the floor.
Second.
For the second, I'm going to ask for it to see if it's all right for the entire council. We would have to agree to allow the applicant to speak. If there's no objection to have him say what he...
I have no objection.
No objection. Sir, would you like to say anything before we actually do a vote?
No, I'll just say that we can take it down definitely right after the service on the 24th even. So I don't have a problem with that at all. I didn't even know that we put the 30th date down, but that works out great with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer, ask for a roll call vote, please.
Aiken?
No.
Mayor?
Yes.
Harness?
Yes.
Scarborough?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
We direct staff with permission of council to investigate a policy for future use. Absolutely. Follow
Absolutely. As we all know, that's our job is to create policies and procedures. So, absolutely. So, there's no objection. Brian, if you could just note that. Mr. Hinshaw.
Yes, we're actually discussing.
No, that's okay.
All right.
With the other policies that our town manager is already bringing to our attention, and what precedence should we give this particular policy versus the other ones that he's brought to our attention this evening? Which order of importance is this policy?
We'll address this one.
I'm just curious because
the other ones can wait. They're work in progress. This is something we can address actually fairly quickly.
Since this is our first application, I can remember.
In discussing with our town planner, I think it just kind of comes down to temporary all-premises signs. He was informing me that we do have an issue that sometimes A-frame signs are done that should be permitted if they're going to be allowed on a temporary basis, but in which case it becomes more of a hassle to continually renew your temporary permit. But like in this particular case, if you have a special event, that would be the ideal process to go through. So I think that would be handled through either ordinance or something to that zoning ordinance.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, moving along. Item F are holiday bonuses. I think we got a pass out of our 2011 and 2012.
I'd like to make a motion to appropriate $4,300 in Christmas bonuses. Allocation of that amount will be provided to the fund to come from general reserves.
Second.
Motion's been second. Discussion.
how are you allocating it?
And a tiered system of which I can get you a copy of.
I'd love to see it before we vote.
Similar to last year.
Your number's not right, because you have to come up with taxes.
So what was our last year's? What would be a general rule of thumb that you would add for all the taxes?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Do we typically pay taxes? In regular business at Fountain, and you get a bonus and that, and pay your own taxes.
Yeah.
There's employer taxes.
There's employer taxes we have to pay if we give them money. That's true, too.
Oh, you were talking about the 7.5% or so.
Yeah.
FICA.
I think you're fine if you say 4,500 to 4,500.
There's some kind of cap with the $500 rule, too, that you can give up to $500 without.
No.
No.
Not on bonus. Okay.
Oh, you're thinking of subcontract.
Okay, so
Do you want to amend that to say up to 4,500?
I will amend my motion, move to appropriate up to 4,500 in Christmas bonuses to include the taxes. Allocation of that will be provided to the town treasurer for her to disperse accordingly. Fund to come from general reserves.
My second still stands.
so we have a second on the amendment. Any further discussion? Go for a roll call vote, please.
Aiken?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Yes.
Scarborough?
Yes.
Kenworthy?
Aye.
Price?
Nope.
Next was item G, the code of conduct.
Yeah, we need to.
We'll ask the clerk to put that on our next, going over to our next town council meeting. And our next one, item would be H, would be the resolution for special election. We had two typos just for the date,
They've been fixed on our new
but they've been
confidential.
fixed on this one, so, yeah.
Mr. Renfro, if I'm not mistaken, this is just a resolution saying that we are sending this to the General Assembly to say that we are considering doing this, or is this obligating us to do this?
No, what you're doing with this resolution is you are authorizing the voters to determine whether or not they would prefer to have a charter amendment provide for staggered terms. If the voters were to say that, in fact, they do want to have staggered terms, then you would have to petition the General Assembly to actually obtain a charter amendment in order to have that go into effect. It would not go into effect automatically based on the referendum.
Right. And this again is telling us that we are intending to have this as a referendum item on the May 2014 election
That's correct.
ballot.
Do we remember right correctly?
Is there a time frame for suggesting or sending this down before the election? How much notice do we have to give them that we intend to try to have this on the ballot prior to putting it on the ballot?
That is governed by the election officials in terms of when you have to provide that notice. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what it is, but we can check on that to make sure that it's submitted. I believe it's 60 to 90 days. I don't think it's an extended period of time. But we'll check and make sure that in order to get it on your ballot, because it'll have to be printed on your ballot appropriately.
Right. This has all been discussion that we've all had here from the election official person who came and spoke to us a month or so ago. I'm curious if it would make sense for us to advertise our intent to offer this as an option prior to offering this as an option.
Like a public hearing?
Some sort of notice or a public hearing, or does it make? Can we send out and solicit input prior to saying we want to do this, versus us saying that we want to do this, and then people go to the polls May 2nd or 3rd or whatever day it is, and they're used to pushing 5 buttons, and all of a sudden they've got this big long paragraph they got to read that they don't know anything about. To me, I think that we should probably inform the folks prior to it. I don't care, whether we go to staggered terms or not, but I think that it would behoove us to solicit some input from those who may care.
Well, I think, Brian, you've researched this. This is not just a whim. This is something that Can you give your explanations of
What I was going to offer is our goal would be to inform and educate the public that this referendum was coming about. As we're heading into the May elections, this would probably start sometime in March. We would get the issues on the website as well as putting together probably like a flyer that would be available here. We try to get out the word as much as we can to try to educate the citizens. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're giving the decision to the residents of the town to make. Whereas if we have a public hearing, you may get 2-3 people out. We haven't really. It's not going to hurt. That's for certain. It wouldn't hurt to have a public hearing, but our goal was to do a public education process with regard to adding this referendum to the May election.
I mean, we had 2 public hearings tonight, and the applicant wasn't even here, so, you know.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I've been on council long enough to know our track record with the public hearings and our track record with audience attendance, but I was just wanting to make sure that we had considered the fact that we need to educate the voters on something that they may be voting on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like.
Heaven forbid we,
From what I'm hearing, it wouldn't hurt if we waited a month to vote on this and see if we could
Drum
drum
up.
up any, I'm not saying interest, but comments. And they don't have to show up. I mean, they could email them in or anything else.
I think we could do an email blast. We could put it on the Facebook. We could put it on the website. We could do whatever we can to drum up any kind of
Comment or feedback.
any type of commentary. And if it's a 90-day window and the election's in May, waiting till January 8th is or whatever it would be, January 6th, would be no big deal in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't have a problem tabling.
I think you probably will get more feedback.
Move the table to a January 2014 meeting on whatever day that would be, January 6th or 7th, whatever day it is, Jen. And also to instruct staff to advertise very creatively the intent of the resolution to solicit public input at that meeting or submit it to council for record prior to said meeting.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Yes, I said I moved
Okay,
to.
sorry. I'll second that.
Thank you.
The motion's been seconded. Any discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So noted. Okay. Item I, consider time change for work session. I think as we went around the table, by doing this, we're able to now have 3 additional or 2 new members join. And I think we had a consensus that at least 7 o'clock did work scheduling-wise for all 7 of us. So with no objection, we just went ahead and went to 7 o'clock.
My recollection was that there was a little more dissent than that. Personally, I don't have a problem going either way. Very flexible. So I thought other people.
And my recollection is similar, that there was some dissent, but the end all was, while it was more convenient for 3 o'clock for some, 7 o'clock would work as well.
Right.
So while there was dissent, at the end of the day, everybody said 7 o'clock would be okay, even if they preferred 3 o'clock. So
7 will be fine for everyone? Okay, so be it. Okay.
In our rules of procedure, we do have the time down as 3 o'clock for our work session. Do we have to formally amend our rules of procedure, or can we simply direct the clerk to make that simple modification and redistribute to the members of council?
If you adopted those policies, then in order to deviate from those, you should take votes to modify the policy.
Then I motion to amend our rules of procedure to change the work session time from 3 o'clock on the Tuesday before the council meeting is to 7 p.m. the Tuesday before council meeting.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Discussion.
Does it make sense to even have a very particular time in there? Or just say that we meet Tuesdays before or something?
It's also
I'm
a
just
form of
wondering for
it's also
future
a form of advertisement. I mean, we were doing it says our council meetings are on 7 p.m. the first Mondays. So since we have the other times, and it just makes sense to me to put the time in, and then if we change it, just re-amend it again. So.
Any other comments? Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Aiken.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Minus. Yes. Scarborough.
Yes.
Kenny.
Aye.
And Sparks.
Good. All right, our department reports. Police report, Deputy Chief. Thank you for coming out.
Has anything changed in the police report since we saw it on Tuesday?
And
Has anything changed in the report since we saw it on Tuesday? Therefore, I have a question. I believe our minutes were very clear that when we were curious for the town manager as to whether or not staff needed to attend both the work session and the meeting, I believe council directed that staff should attend the work session and not the meeting unless they were to be called back for the meeting. So if nothing changed, no offense, but why are we making this man be here so late? He's been here all day.
I actually asked him to attend the meeting.
Has something changed from the police report that was presented on Tuesday?
From the police report, no, sir.
Okay. Because council, just so you know, council made the decision to have staff attend the work session unless directly asked by council.
Understood that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're circumventing council again?
Not again, sir, and I would caution you for your comment there. Okay.
Caution me for my comment.
Yeah.
I asked a question.
Okay.
I'm allowed to do so.
Right. So, thank you very much, sir.
Have a safe drive home.
Town manager's report.
However, I just want to catch you up to speed on a couple different items in the town manager's report. One of the things that came to my attention today was actually I received an email from Ativia, who's our special events coordinators. They submitted some suggested changes. They've been mulling over the addendum for quite some time. Most of the changes were trivial, and I'll be happy to provide those for you tomorrow. But I wanted to basically bring to your attention with regard to item 2 in the addendum, which was actually basically requests about prompt payment for any services rendered from the town. Mainly, this is our police department. Basically, we had in our item 2, if the promoter fails to pay town for obligations under this contract within 10 days of their due date, town may terminate the contract immediately. They've made the suggested language of adding by providing written notice to the promoter of its intention to terminate. That issue, I have no qualms, and I think that is a fair request. However, their other request was the promoter should have 30 days to cure. And the reason I bring this up to you all this evening is basically their contract does run out at the end of this month. If we are going to make any distinct changes to the addendum, then we really are going to need to have a meeting. My recommendation is that we cannot honor this request to change it. The 30 days to cure any issue has been a concern of ours from the beginning. So I can't recommend it. We can possibly look at other alternatives, but if we're going to look at other alternatives, then we're going to need to come back to the meeting. So I basically just would like to recommend that from the standpoint of I think I've already informed them I did not believe that we could honor this request, but I just want to make sure I had council support on that response.
Okay.
Does the discussion at this point of the contract, does this require us to go into closed session to be carrying on these conversations?
And why are we discussing a contract in open session?
You have the authority to discuss it in open session, but you have the right to discuss it in private session if you choose to do so. It's your choice.
And I think, hasn't this been part of the packet as far as their amendment? So it's been public?
No, it's just said the contract addendum, draft addendum is being reviewed.
But no, I'm asking if the addendum
Earlier,
has been part of the public.
I think it's direct from town manager and it's been forwarded.
So basically, as this has been brought to me, I just received it just today. I kind of felt like because of the date of their contract, and trying to work with our promoters as well, I just wanted to get some direction.
Do they have draft language that they have suggested?
They have. I just was reading that.
Can we see it, please?
Yeah, I can pass it around. All the others were basically changing the dates.
On the other matter that I think I spoke to you about earlier today, for a phone call that you received, open session or closed session regarding that activity?
Well, can we just move this to closed session? Because I have some questions that I don't really want to make public.
That's fine.
Okay, we'll make sure we'll add that to our closed session list. All right.
Okay.
When did you receive this?
I just received this morning.
This morning.
The only other thing I wanted to basically bring up was with regard to the proposed policies that you all received. These are proposed policies at this time. These are not policies. They are policies that we didn't currently have. So when I gave it to you for review, that's just coming from strictly administrative. There's actually quite a bit. A lot of these come from other jurisdictions as well. What I would come to you all as for is I would seek out if rather than going through each of them all together, if you'd like to do a subcommittee, I'd be happy to work with the subcommittee on them so we can bring them back to the council in a timely manner. This is no rush by any means. We've been working on these for some time. Like I said, a lot of these are changes that come from other jurisdictions, and they're just policies that we currently do not have. So I would be happy to work with the subcommittee, or I can continue to work with the council.
My personal thing is to go ahead and let you continue, but I'll see if the council has any other.
No objection.
Actually, I have a question for our attorney in reference to subcommittees. We had found out at FOIA, we thought our 2x2 rule, we were following the rules, but if we actually have two people, then we have formed a committee, if council mandates it. If we do subcommittees, do the council members that serve on these committees receive their stipend?
I can't answer that without checking to see exactly what the rules provide, but all of the normal rules would apply in terms of the FOIA, for example. So depending upon the exact language of what the stipend language says, if it says that it's an official meeting, then yes, you would receive that instead.
Okay, what type of, we inadvertently formed a subcommittee to do the code of conduct. Is there a way for us to waive our stipend when we have these things, or is that a no-no also? Or
No.
is that something
I don't know of any prohibition against you waiving the stipend.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we were, other than that, to continue to let Brian do the thing, I think we're going around the room. Ms. Harness?
I have no objection.
Mr. Kinley? Mr. Tobias?
I would just ask our attorney to review that last statement only because previous counsel had indicated that council could not waive, council, planning commission, ARB, et cetera, could not waive their stipend as allocated in the charter by the code for payment for attendance of the meetings. So if we could just have a cursory review of that, please.
I'll be glad to check that.
I don't have a problem with someone saying they don't want to get paid, but the last attorney told us we couldn't do that. If we came to a meeting and we were there, we got paid.
So I didn't see that, but I think you can continue on doing your policies. Thank you.
As far as the draft policies go, what would be easiest for me is if you just want to mark it up and just give me the draft, your draft, and I can take it and make the editorial changes and then bring it back to you all as you make what you make the changes.
Right. Okay.
Recommendations. Okay. Other than that, that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any other questions with regard to our manager's report.
Okay. Ms. Fraser?
Quick question about the food pantry.
Yes.
They're still reviewing the draft lease. Isn't their lease up in December?
Their lease actually
January.
actually ends in January.
Okay, so there is another meeting before that their lease is up.
As far as I know, they have had their attorney, or they were seeking out their attorney to do a review of it. I haven't.
Just want to make sure we weren't in a window where there's no lease.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Hirshaw? Okay, thank you, sir. Engineers report. Mayor, I don't have any changes to my report. I can answer any questions. Any questions for either the town engineer or the town planner? Oh, I'm sorry, that's good. No, that's right, we're good.
Now, all are addressed after
Yeah.
work session.
Good. Okay, thank you, sir. Building officials report. Any further questions about that? Museum report. I believe, Denise-
Just a FYI on the treasurer's report, expect to see a change in the presentation of that next month.
I guess you had said that the work session, I think, would be changing the format.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay. Closed session, I guess we're up to. Mr. Vanderpool, if you could bring us into closed session.
Isn't this a closed session item as well? The actual person that does it?
We can add that to there.
I thought that was under the impression. Perfect.
Mr. Mayor, the motion will be that the town council convene in closed session pursuant to Union Code Section 2.2-3711A1 to discuss a personnel matter involving discussion, consideration, and interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, promotion, salaries, disciplining, the resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees in a public body, specifically performance review of charter employees. And there'll be a second motion with regard to the contract.
Okay.
You want to take those separately or together?
Together.
The motion will also include moving the town council to convene in closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A29, discuss a matter concerning the contract for event promotion, discussion of the terms of scope of the contract, because public discussions would adversely affect the town's bargaining position and negotiating strategy vis-a-vis the vendor.
So moved.
Second? Second. Mrs. Bear, second. Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's what my dog says she was.
Are we back in live?
He's working on it.
Okay, it was warm in her office. It's so cold that he melted.
It's cold out. I felt that all day.
Yeah. And it wasn't that chilly today.
Okay, take it apart.
Okay. Call meeting back to order. We'll get our certification.
That's approved from last
To
time.
help with the verbiage.
Mr. Mayor, the certification will be to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the public body.
Bacon.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Harness.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Cameron.
Aye.
And Tobias.
Great. Councilmember Thomas. Mr. Aiken?
Pass.
Mrs. Bear?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mrs. Harness?
Pass.
Mrs. Scarborough?
The pantry's attorney just got the lease last week, so hopefully we'll have it, his comments, or okay, this week.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Great. Mr. Kinley?
Good.
Mr. Tobias?
Will our 7 p.m. work session be Monday the 23rd?
Thought it was done for the 30th.
Or we're doing it on the 30th versus the 31st. You're right, okay. So Monday the 30th? That's all I wanted with clarification on that. I couldn't remember what the email said. Hell, I'm sorry. In that case, Merry Christmas. Motion adjourned. Happy New Year. We'll be here the 30th.
Did Mayor have any time?
You know, we did this again, but that's okay. I didn't have anything other than having no knowledge of this Zoom info. Okay.
Just so you know, I don't know, that all that crap pulls from the internet sites, so, I don't know. I found out about it today, I pulled it up and I looked at it, I was like, well, this isn't anything gaming rights, because you can't, you gotta subscribe to that to get it removed, just so you know. Because I looked at it today, I pulled all of ours up after I saw yours.
You're not going to be able to get rid of it.
You can, you're supposed to subscribe to, they say that if you want to edit your own profile, you have to subscribe to it, so you have to pay a membership fee, and then you can edit your own profile, it's like Wikipedia thing. But you gotta subscribe.